If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. So let's waste no time. Let's do the COVID-19 dance. Slide to the right, slide to the left, slide to the middle. Crisscross, crisscross. Everybody clap your hands. Let's get to it. Story number 1. Where will the money come from? Will it come from the music industry? Will it come from Congress? As the government decides on another stimulus rescue package, student loan forgiveness may be dropped from the bill. That's not good. Student loans have really hampered a lot of people's spending power. So how will this happen? How will this change the future? Nobody knows. Everybody wants to go to college, but it's evident that a few people can pay. Forbes says that small businesses need access to capital to power an economic recovery. The article says that businesses with fewer than 500 employees account for almost half of all of the jobs and 44% of GDP. So they're saying all these small businesses, they account for about half the jobs and about 44% of the GDP. But they can't seem to stay afloat without access to capital. That's loans, the money market, bank loans. So this is becoming a big problem. Teen spending is also down, according to one report. The survey of teen spending says spending is at a 40-year low, record low, due to the virus. It's another big developing story. $4 trillion to rescue the U.S. economy could exceed the cost of an 18-year war in Afghanistan, according to a Washington Post article. So they're comparing the rescuing of the United States economy to the spending on the war in Afghanistan. Never thought I'd see that. The issue of paying taxes also highlights some key concerns in this developing story, because a lot of people, not just in America, manipulate the tax system by not paying. They don't want to pay taxes, and that includes the president. John McAfee, an antivirus software magnate. He's also a former libertarian presidential candidate, has been indicted for tax evasion. So there's a lot of people who get in trouble every year for tax evasion. Tax evasion is a growing problem in many countries, not just America. That's what got this story in, and that's why it's so important, because you're taking away from yourself if you don't pay taxes and especially locally. Now, unpaid bills are piling up, according to one report in the Washington Post, and that includes unpaid bills by the government. So keep an eye on story number 1. Big headline, big developing news story. Story number 2. Are humans forgetting that we share the planet with other species? And could this legitimize global warming? Another article relating the Earth's climate to human habits is circulating. The article claims that global warming is altering nighttime temperatures and could be changing vegetation cycles, which could eventually affect the food, especially corn and all that other good stuff that comes out of the earth. The sun gives us its rays, and it comes out of the earth. That's a good idea, just for me and you. That's positive thinking, and it's something that happens in nature. Thank you for being so gracious, for feeding us this meal. The increased use of air conditioners and refrigerators could be the blame for the increasing size of a hole in the Earth's ozone layer. Now, this could be the reason. If this continues to happen, we could see the hole getting bigger than the United States, according to the article, which said that the hole is bigger than the United States already, but it could get bigger if we keep being careless. But let's see how this story develops. Could scientists be overstepping their boundaries, especially after the death of cows that were gene hacked to help fight climate change? So these are not a lot of stories that deal with what we're seeing when it comes to the climate and assuring this planet. Study shows that there are 14 million metric tons of microplastic sitting on the ocean seafloor and could be increasing. It's another big story. We use a lot of plastic on this planet without even knowing that it's affecting the environment. So story number 2 is on to something. One report by CNN says that nature is healing itself while humans battle with the virus. So they're saying that while we're battling coronavirus, nature is healing itself because we're spending less time outside and doing crazy stuff to the atmosphere. Story number 3 is Trump losing on trade. An article in Politico says that Trump may be losing the battle on trade. The trade deficit stretched to a record high of $83 billion. His goal was to reduce the trade deficit. The U.S. trade gap is on track to exceed $600 billion this year, according to the article. Trump blames his predecessors, but economists disagree. There are some bad numbers in this report. In 2017, the combined goods and services deficit was $514 billion, according to the article. It reflected an $800 billion goods deficit, as well as a $286 billion service surplus. The report compares those numbers to a number now that could exceed $850 billion. That's not good news for Trump. Trump's $1.5 trillion tax cut could also be contributing to the U.S. budget deficit. Congress approved more than $3 trillion to stimulate the economy in the pandemic, tripling the budget deficit to $3.3 trillion. U.S. farmers were also hit hard. They were hit so hard by Trump's tariff war that the Trump administration had to give out $20 billion in emergency aid payments. Now, before Trump was elected, U.S. farming exports to China had reached a high of $25 billion annually. Now they have plummeted to $6.8 billion in 2019. What makes this story even worse is that a Forbes report claims that China isn't even close to meeting trade agreement plans so far. This is another big developing story, and that's why story number 3 is so big. Is Trump losing on trade? Story number 4. How does the world view China and the United States, especially in the saga of coronavirus? New poll shows that the world may negatively view China now because of the way they've handled the coronavirus. It's clear that the world wants a solution to the coronavirus problem. Singapore, according to one report, is paying some of its citizens to have babies in the midst of coronavirus problems because people are maybe afraid they need to stimulate the economy, so they need to have children and need to have babies, and there's a lot of things that come along with childbirth. So and in this virus, you can see how it's affecting the state of governments. Mike Pompeo reportedly lashed out at China, accusing them of exploitation, corruption, and cohesion inside of this. So this could be affecting how people view the global powers and how the global powers, China and the United States, are handling this virus. Story number 4 is still developing, but it's another big story that crept in this week because perception is changing about what is needed and what is not needed. Coronavirus has revealed a lot about the character, the willpower, and the state of people inside of each country, China and the United States, and the world. So keep an eye on story number 4. Those are our top 4 stories. I'll be right back with the top 4 stories. Don't go anywhere. You're in the Mediator with me, Brian West. I'll be right back after this break. If you want to check out the stories that almost made it in or did make it in, go to our Twitter feed on our website. Check out everything. All of the sources are there. And go to the website. It's method8inc.com, method8inc.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. So let's waste no time. Oh, can I get an encore? Do you want more cooking, boy, with the Youngstown boy? Oh, I need y'all to roll. Yeah. Let's get to it. Woo, don't you feel it? Story number 5. How will the strategy to pressure drug companies turn out? President Trump is reportedly pressuring drug companies' CEOs for a coronavirus vaccine quick. That's not good news because may not want to rush perfection. A nurse in Germany is in jail for killing a patient with insulin. It's another big developing story. The Supreme Court is not sure if regulating the prescription drug middleman is the answer in this developing story about how do we handle the drug companies and the president's push to try to get cheaper drugs. Now, the key talking point in story number 5 is the fact that it may not be wise to rush or tamper with drugs, especially if they are life-saving. It may be better to just see what works by bringing the professionals in this field to the table to meet the demands of their customers. That's why the story is developing, and that's why it made it to the top 8 this week. Story number 6. Are there different versions of the coronavirus virus? Or is it just lack of knowledge that's killing us? There is proof that there is different strands, but we'll see how this develops. The CDC says that COVID-19 could be airborne. They are also stressing that bad human habits in regards to poverty, poor hygiene could also be a factor in the way this virus has been spreading. It's clear that what people don't know about this virus could be affecting them, as the goal to contain this disease seems to be slowly fading away to an alternate solution of herd immunity, which means if everybody eventually catches it, eventually they will become immune to it, and some people will not survive. We're probably seeing that now more than ever. So story number 6, that's why it crept into the top 8 this week. Story number 7, could COVID-19 be wearing some people out? A BBC report says that WHO, the World Health Organization regional director for Europe, says that fatigue is starting to set in the fight to defeat COVID-19. Some people are getting tired in the fight, but that's when you got to dig deep inside yourself. Bring it out of you to keep fighting. We will defeat this disease. I guarantee it. New study finds that American adults are drinking more during the pandemic. They're getting drunk in the fight. No, you got to pick up the pieces and move. Regroup. Don't get drunk. There's too much at stake. Mediation can be tough, but somebody's got to do it. Some doctors are retiring early due to COVID-19, due to the pandemic. They're giving up the fight. This is real sad. A report in USA Today says that suicide rates among active duty troops have jumped to a 6-year high, and COVID-19 stress is making it worse. This is the time that we prepared for as citizens of this great country. This is the time where we should be engaging and getting ready for battle. Everybody's somehow just sitting around. Story number 7 is a big headline. Big developing story. Story number 8, and the top international headline and developing news story that made it in this week. Who is to blame for the outbreak at the White House and in Washington? Somebody's been bad. A senior Pentagon leader, along with many other officials in the White House and Washington, including the president, have somehow been victims of a small outbreak of COVID-19 in Washington, leaving taxpayers wondering who is to blame. Somebody hasn't been paying attention to the news. Somebody has been running around without their mask on. This could be bad. Chairs were placed outside of the Capitol to bring awareness to the reality that the coronavirus is still killing people. There is still a lot of mystery behind the coronavirus, but a lot of people have survived this disease, leaving a long road and a lot of confusion on who or what to believe is a valid solution to the growing COVID-19 problem. Story number 8 is one of those stories that keeps you on your toes, keeps you wondering about the mystery of victory in defeating this coronavirus. Stay tuned, folks. The saga continues. Well, those are our top 8 headlines in developing news stories, international and locally. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out of doing the research. As usual, I want to thank all the news outlets, the people on the front lines. You deserve all the credit. I'm just the mediator, the man in the middle. If you want to show some support, you can visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. I'm out of here. Going to go back, regroup, do it all over again next week. Look over 200 or more stories just for you to keep you informed. So have a good week, everybody. And thank you once again. Stay safe out there. Thank you for tuning to The Mediator. Me, Brian West. Peace.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is